All right, Sher, thanks for being here. Sher Perras with Island Pond Marketing. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time to come on the Future Fox podcast today. Why don't you just take a minute and give us your elevator pitch? What does Island Pond Marketing do?
That's pretty easy. I do it every day. It's Island Pond Marketing is a full service marketing agency. So I have made partnerships with Microsoft, Google, various other vendors throughout the world. So it enables me to work with the best of the best. When I bring in outside companies, I only work with teams that give me a dedicated resource. So if you're my client, you're getting them too. So all of the resources that I have at your disposal. And so one of the things that I bring to that is almost 30 years of marketing experience. And so I've been there from the beginning of the internet all the way through. And it's interesting when you think about it, it's a lot.
Yeah. Marketing's changed a lot over the last 30 years.
Just a smidge, just a little bit, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing watching technology from when you think about it. Marketing used to be the newspaper.
Yeah.
Maybe a magazine,
Poster.
all the old school traditional.
Maybe a poster.
Yeah, and you were hoping that you possibly could be positioned best. Now we have between pixels and cookies and all those cool things that are available to us as marketers and also us as consumers. It helps us because if I'm looking at something, I'm being retargeted at other things like it.
Yeah.
The only time I think it bothers me is when I just bought it and the same company keeps coming after me. I'm like, you already got my money.
Oh, what it ruins it for me is when I'm searching something, or vice versa. When I'm searching something for my wife for her birthday or Christmas, and then it starts showing up in her feed. She's like, "Oh, I started seeing that last week. I knew you were going to buy that for me." I'm like, "Dang it!"
So that's why you had to use incognito.
That helps, yeah.
And that way, at least your IP for the house.
And we share like an Amazon account, so we can't order from Amazon for each other. We gotta.
Open a business Amazon, and then they don't see it.
Yeah, I think I have that.
That's what I do. I
Yeah,
literally all the office stuff goes through, but also
sounds
my
like a lot of
husband's
work.
Gifts.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That sounds like a lot of work. I don't know. I'm old school. I like to shop in person still. So I'm an old soul. So
Good for you.
I'll just go to World Market and find some things that she would like. That's her favorite store. So, all right. Well, let's talk a little bit. Let's back up. Talk about how you got here. And you grew up in New Mexico on a ranch. That sounded really fun.
Yeah. So grew up on family ranch. I want to say they settled on it in 1903.
Okay. Wow.
And so it's been in the family forever.
Cool.
And my great grandfather was a Texas Ranger. So when they actually were moving out, it was still part of the Texas territories.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
So it's very cool to know that this land has been in the family for 100
Does your family still have
years. Yeah.
Family still has it?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, my parents still have it. Now that, my grandparents have moved on, it's kind of split up. But for the most part, my parents still have all their original. So
okay. Is it like a working ranch?
Not anymore. Now it's really just oil and gas. Gotcha. But growing up out there, you learn to use your imagination when you're in the middle of nowhere. Sure. I was the youngest. Cousins were older, younger. I had one cousin my age, but that was it.
Okay.
And he was a boy. So
it
was like, so I ended up being kind of a tomboy. And just loved it. But you learn a lot and how to really be creative. Mm-hmm. And I think that carries over to just how I got, when I knew I needed to go to college, I knew that I needed, to figure out what it is I wanted to do. Because marketing was so different then. I just did business administration for my undergrad because why? I mean, there really wasn't, you grew up, you did sales. If you did marketing, it was still very, very, almost like being a journalist.
Yeah.
And then as the internet really got more popular and everybody started using it, I just kept evolving and learning. I remember when Facebook came out, I was in Dallas and teaching people how to use Facebook and put together a profile. I mean, it was so funny.
That's hilarious. Dude, I remember Facebook when it first came out. No one knew what it was, and it was just for college students at first. And then everyone got on. So you got a business admin degree, and then you just recently went back to school.
Yeah.
What made you want to do that?
COVID, and I couldn't go anywhere.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I was looking online for just cool digital marketing things. Mm-hmm. And because it was very clear, Amazon, everything was going to be online. Even after the pandemic, we got used to it.
Yeah.
The convenience of it all shows up,
Yeah,
whether it's
you order it,
groceries or whatever.
you buy it, instant gratification, and then you get re-gratification once it shows up. Right?
Exactly. And I mean, golly, in certain areas like here, I mean, you might order something and I'm out of coffee. Well, okay, it's going to be between 4 and 6. I can live that long in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just so funny. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But in doing that and understanding what was going on in the world, I realized this is where I need to be.
Yeah.
So I went online, found a course. It was actually by a Columbia professor.
Okay.
And really, really liked the course.
Do you remember what it was called?
The courses, I don't, but it's my emeritus.
Okay.
So what emeritus does, and this is super cool, they find the best of the best. So Dr. Rogers is part of the executive program at Columbia.
Okay.
Then they had instructors from MIT. So the instructors were actually from schools that there's no way I could afford a degree from.
Yeah.
And I was able to.
I would never get into those schools, so.
I don't know. I think now they'd be like, so long ago. But in doing that, I really got abreast and refreshed on all the things I've been learning over the years. And then did my capstone and then got the postgraduate diploma in digital business.
Well, cool.
And
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
and
exciting.
then I, at the encouragement of a colleague, when I was doing consulting at Air Methods, she recommended that I get CAMP. And that's a Certified Association of National Advertisers Marketing Professional.
Okay.
And
Yeah, what does that entail?
So that entails 25 classes.
Okay.
And you can take however long you want, but I did it in 6 months. And then after you achieve it, then you have to do continuing education of 10 to 12 credits every year. Okay. So I have like 2 more classes. And then I'm recertified for this year. So this will be my 3rd year.
Okay, cool. And why did you feel like you needed to do that?
Again, keeping abreast. I mean, as we know, like a simple fight, the pixel cookie, neither's really ever gone away. Sure. And as much as they say they aren't going to, the advertisers like Google, Bing, so forth, they can't afford to not have that. Yeah. Because how are you going to retarget? Right. And so it's super important. And then just all the changes. So just being abreast of it. Cool. Webinars, training constantly. Yeah. I just feel like it's a must, and I learn something every day.
Yeah, I mean, it's super important, and no matter what industry you're in, to stay, especially as things are evolving super fast. I mean, there's probably some industries, maybe welding or something that, the methods don't change all that much that often. But anything in the digital space, like what you and I do, right? I mean, I'm constantly researching the next best camera, the next best light, the next best microphone. There's new camera gear, new technology coming out, and we got to stay on top of that so that we can stay on top, stay ahead of our competition, right? What's going to set it? It's just one more thing that sets us apart. Editing software, they're coming out with new features every day.
Isn't it incredible AI, now how simple it is to edit and add? I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, they make it like things like, what's that called? Captions and what's the other one that we use? CapCut. Like they make it so easy, you know what I mean? To like make really cool edits, Yeah. So we don't use it too much. We use it for some of our social media stuff, but not for client work. But it's impressive what they're able to do with like all the templates and stuff like that. So, all right. So you started your business back in 2009, right?
Right. So I started in Dallas. That was actually part of. I had been.
How'd you end up in Dallas?
I was married to my first husband, and we ended up in the DFW area. Gotcha. And then as my kids got older, went to school, I swore I'd never leave. And then I met my now husband, and now I'm here. Okay. But being in Dallas, and I was very involved with philanthropy and volunteering and so forth. So that really was the best way that I know literally thousands of people. Cool. Okay. And when we back, I guess in 2019, we were here for about a year. We were doing a CBD business. Our manufacturers were in Colorado Springs, so it just made sense to move up here from Dallas. That was the move. Pandemic hit. We freaked out, put everything in storage, and moved back to the family lake house, which was supposed to be for the summer. Okay, yeah. And 2 years later, we left. So, but fell in love with New England. So just following passion and doing things is pretty cool. But in 2009, when I started really with just social media, doing websites, because people back then, I mean, God, it's so funny when you think about it. 16 years isn't that long, but it's changed so different. I mean, even
what were you building websites on back then?
Oh my God, probably GoDaddy.
Okay.
I've used them, and I love recommending it now for smaller clients because of the robust packages that you get for the for the volume.
Yeah, I've never used GoDaddy. I've used like Squarespace and Wix and some of those other ones.
It's very similar,
Yeah.
but they have 24/7 support. You actually get live people, which
makes a
so
difference.
missing with so many of the other platforms.
Sure.
But like if you're doing a small business and you want to capture your audience and advertise back to them, they actually have that package included.
Oh, okay.
Versus like a constant contact, which I also represent and I love, but it's, $75 for a small client. That could add up very, very quickly a month. Then, add onto it your software for all the other stuff that you do for a small business, as you know. Next thing you know, you're like, how am I spending $500 a month in subscriptions?
Yeah, that stuff adds up really fast. Some of the softwares that we use too. It's the same way.
Yeah.
You look up and you're like, wait, how much am I paying for all this stuff? Do I need all of these things? It's
exactly.
Like, well, you always have to reevaluate what you're using.
And on a regular basis, because then like Intuit, believe it or not, QuickBooks, they actually have something that could almost replace some of the functionalities of like Salesforce.
Okay.
So a lot of them are starting to incorporate because it's no longer just proprietary. People are figuring it out.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
it's
cool.
kind of cool. But so
You sound very knowledgeable about softwares.
well, that's where I started my career. So MCI WorldCom years ago, it was WorldCom first and then MCI. I was part of the emerging product side. I was also part of Nortel, Siemens, Cisco. So I started as just an analyst, left as a product marketing manager, supporting 3 business units and 17 product lines. So I really learned a lot. And I worked with such a great team that it made it where you just wanted to get in and do well. And that's where, like now, when I have clients and they're just excited and they're really appreciative, oh my God, I'm just so excited to do more for them.
Yeah, that's cool. So tell me about the services. You said full service. What does that mean? What are the, give me some practical ones that you're actually doing for them.
So what makes the most sense is kind of start. So like if you and I were to sit down, I would give you a discovery form of all the things that you're thinking that you want to do, and then
what if I just don't know?
And then I'm going to ask you still more questions. So I'm going to ask what your revenues are. If you're a startup, obviously none. Then what's your budget and what can you afford and what's your timeline? Okay. And sometimes those are all conflicting because as we all know, to get something quickly, usually it costs more because you're bumping other people and that kind of thing. So
have you seen those little dials where it's like, do you want it fast, good, or cheap? And it's like you check fast, good, and then cheap turns off. And you turn cheap back on and fast goes off. And you're like, you can't have all 3.
Yeah, you can't.
You can have 2.
So understanding what somebody can do. Some people have limited budgets. Some companies are like, here you go, here's your check. So just depending upon the size. So I like small and medium businesses. I've worked with large companies and worked for large companies. And
what's the cutoff for you? Like, what do you think?
I'd say 5-10 million. After that, you're getting into major departments and issues, and you just can't get stuff done.
At the like 5 million mark, do they typically have a marketing person?
They will, depending upon what they are.
Okay.
So
do some of your clients have marketing people already, like a full-time marketing person? You come in and you're supporting them? I
come in and then I come in with strategy. So I have one client, they have 2 employees that are in the Philippines. And I have to say it's interesting on timing. Yeah. Because they're 13 hours ahead. So when I'm like, have a good weekend, they're already in the weekend because they're working.
They're living in the future. I have someone in the Philippines as well. And I always joke, hey, they're living in the future.
So I create the strategy, go over it with him, all of them. I actually have task lists we go over. So I mini manage them. Okay. So think of it kind of like as a fractional CMO in a lot of instances because you're coming in with strategy and then how to implement it. So if you have a team and you need help, then I'm going to get to know your team and I'm going to help them. Nice. If it's just directing, then I'm still going to direct, but I'm still going to keep that personal side to it. Okay. I think that's super important. With AI and all the different things, and I hate the word elevate. It's elevate. I'm like, could you say AI more promptly? I mean, it's just, so I like to use, and that's why our tagline is, utilizing technology with human authenticity because it's a tool. Just like the internet's a tool, your phone's a tool. It's only as good as what you put into it. Sure. And you still have to proof it. You can't just go, okay, it's ready. I'll just send it because it's not. You still have to put yourself into it. So then, so what is your ideal client? What's the perfect client for you? What's the size and what are their needs? What are they asking you to do? So perfect client is somebody that's in a growth phase. Okay. That probably, what would be amazing is anybody with a $500,000 to $100,000 budget because then you could truly get effects. Okay. Because when you start campaigns with a smaller business, it's a small budget, so you're not going to get in front of many people.
Yeah.
And then you're also going to have the problem that you're bidding across everybody. So to bid to be where you're at, you might be good with their budget for 2 days, 3 days. You're not really going to get anywhere. So you've got to look at more organic tactics and posting and using, and which is a lot of labor intensive time, and then reposting.
Tell me about
like
it.
People don't understand about like sharing to groups or how important it is to belong to groups, but be strategic. Don't bombard a group just because you're like, oh, they should love my product.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe once, twice a week.
Can you, if there's any air duct cleaning people out there, could you please listen to this? They are just everywhere bombarding us. So.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. You don't see that?
No.
Oh, dude. Every Facebook group I'm in, every LinkedIn group, whatever, it's just air duct. We can come clean your air ducts. We're running a special. Yeah, every day almost. So
oh my goodness. I mean, I guess, but I mean, how often do you do that?
I don't know. Apparently, you need to do it every day. That's what it seems like, anyway. So, all right. So, what size were you saying? So, people in their growth phase.
People in their growth phase
with a budget of
with a budget of 500 to $1 million, and the goal is to use it as, instead of making marketing just a cost center, make it a profit driver. So by finding out what you're doing, and part of the strategy when you're doing is looking at the competitive analysis, what's going on in your market, if it's a local company, if it's big, who else is out there that's big. But also understanding maybe there's somebody at a local level that you could do better. So really doing a comprehensive analysis of who your competition is and what they're doing. And then from that, you learn. Don't just go, okay, well, they're doing that, I'm not. They're doing it, it's working. We're going to do it, but we're going to do it better.
So how deep into the analytics are you getting with your clients?
As deep as they'll let me, but I will dig. I go in granular. I want reports. I want to look at everything, and then I want to be able to look at, why is this number less or more? Okay. And because less means we're doing something badly, more means we're doing it, let's do it better and keep doing it. Yeah. And so by digging in and really looking at the granular level, sometimes you'll go into something like the first of an email campaign and seeing when people are opening for you. Okay. So understanding, how many people are and aren't opening, how many people need to be resent to, but then they open. So there's a lot of different things you can do, but I am not a prescriber of the people who hit you every single day. Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's a lot. After I get 3 or 4 in a row, I just start. That's when I'm like, all right, I'll go and unsubscribe. Oh, exactly. If it's something I'm mildly interested in, and I get one a month, they'll stay in my inbox. I'll tolerate it. Just swipe.
If it's something that you just visited, and we do that too. I have a client that we have when you visit their website, though, then we retarget you. Okay. Now, see, to me, that's fair. You've been there. You've looked at it.
Shows you're interested.
I'm interested, and okay.
It's just another touch point. I think that's
right. And so I'm always looking for exciting companies to partner with, who do something like that. And like with this guy, with this company, you have the opportunity to, when somebody visits your website, they get an email within an hour. Wow. And then 3 days later,
how do you get their email just from visiting the website?
IP.
Okay.
It is frightening and amazing. Yeah. Just exactly.
I guess somebody's got all of your information. So if they can tie that information to an IP address, then you got everything. Huh?
So one of the things that we stopped doing was using Alexa, because I guess it was about 3 years.
I don't have one in my house.
3 years ago, we had one because my mother-in-law loved, oh my goodness, this is so cool. Alexa, what time is it? Alexa set a timer. It was great. And
my kids have them at school or at wherever they go. And they're always like, why don't we have an Alexa? Or we have like a Sonos speaker that's just a dumb speaker. It's just, and they'll just like talk to it. And they'll be like, Alexa, what's the weather like? And I'm like, that's not going to answer you, sweetheart.
Yeah. Nice try.
But they're always listening, right?
Well, that's just it. One night we were talking and it answered. You're like, we weren't including it in the conversation.
Alexa, that wasn't for you.
Or another time, my wonderful mother-in-law, she's sitting there and she said something, and her watch says, "That's not nice." And that was when I was like, I'm done. Yeah. And so we literally took it all up and donated it. I'm not going to have it. I mean, as it is a little
too aggressive marketing for you.
A little too much. And then it digs into all kinds of controversial things that you can immediately think about, like just where's that data really going?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
it's for me is when they did there was a it started, I don't remember what it was doing, but it was they had it in some kid's room, and it was like talking to it about maybe things it shouldn't have been. You know what I mean? And you're like,
my gosh.
well, that's not a conversation I want a robot to have with my kid, you know? So that's a conversation I'd like to have with my kid, not the ghost of Jeff Bezos, you know? So
that's funny.
Well, cool. Tell me about like, it sounds like you guys are utilizing that technology. Is there anything else that you're doing right now for your clients that's working really, really well?
Honestly, I think it's just digging into the data as we start campaigns and coming in with, here's a conclusion. This is where we're at. Our goal is to get more setting goals. I think is always important. Yeah. And sometimes you can achieve them. And if you can't, why? So that's where data always comes back in. Let's look at the data. Where did we go wrong? It was working, it wasn't. What happened at that point of demarcation? So, and then understanding industry benchmarks. So maybe you only have a 10% open rate, but maybe that's just what it is. Normal.
Maybe that's really good for your industry.
But I have a dental practice that for dentists sending to their own client base, a 31% open rate is amazing. She has 48. Wow. So as we've done it, people just, you don't do it all the time, but what you give is important. It's informative. It's good, but it's in a cadence. It's like, it's not just
good content.
It's right. And it's
got to have that catchy tagline, the catchy subject line too.
That, and just having people who know their stuff. I mean, I won't just take anybody as a client. I won't work with people I don't like.
How do you know if you don't like them until you work with them though?
Well, then that's,
you get vibes. You can pick up vibes.
You get vibes. And sometimes, you work with them about a month and you're like, this really isn't going to work because say you have a client and they got a limited budget. And a lot of the limited budget, especially for a small business owner,
they're always the neediest.
Stressed for time. They're always but they want a lot, but yet they don't, when you try to sit down and tell them we need to discuss these things. Oh, we've done it. Yep. Well, you might have, but did you do it right? Yeah. There's a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, everything, I think everything follows Pareto's distribution. It's like the 90-10 rule. You know what I mean? 90%, 10% of your clients are taking up 90% of your time. And they're usually the worst clients,
Sometimes. Sometimes. But this person it was very difficult because I really liked their concept and what was going on. But then they would do an event and say, call us to make a reservation.
And you're like,
with no phone number.
Oh.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not even in agreement on let's call because I'm telling you to really, calling? Everybody does it online, but the fact that there's no phone number and then it was just like, oh, well, it might ruin the art.
Yeah. Can't ruin the art. Well, then you're not
gonna get any response.
You know what ruins the art? Nobody showing up.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where when you have somebody who's 23 and they're not really sure what they're doing, and then when you tell them because they're 23, I don't know anything. So I'm like, okay. So that was just an instance where all that was same client. And so it's just like, it is best to let them good luck.
Free them up to go work with someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
That fits their, so you and I met at the chamber, right?
Yes.
And that's been great. I really shout out South Denver Metro Chamber, the best chamber, is that what it's called?
Exactly.
And we met there. Where else are you finding and connecting with your clients? Where are you finding potential clients? How are they finding you?
A lot of it's been just personal referrals.
Yeah.
People will be like, oh, you need that?
And you have clients all over the country, I imagine, right?
Yes. Yeah, I do. My biggest clients are in St. Louis, Austin.
Okay.
One of them is local, but then the owner is not. So, so it's a nice blend. So it's one of those things that's kind of nice. I'm going to be spending a week in Dallas the first week of December just to get back contact. And now that I've really got everything rolling, to start looking for some, bigger clients with people. And conveniently, 3 of my kids I have 10. I have 2 children and a stepson, and they're all in the soon will be in the DFW area.
Yeah.
Can't spit that out. And so now I'm like, oh, well, if I have business, then I have a reason to go visit for a week.
Yeah, you go. So you got to find clients that live close by.
Exactly.
All your kids. That's great. That's a good, smart strategy. I need to find clients that live in San Diego so I can have an excuse to just go to San Diego all the time. It's my favorite place. So.
Oh, nice.
What is the, I'm sure it varies depending on what you're doing for them, but what is an average investment that people are are investing in your services. Obviously, they need a healthy budget. A lot of that budget is going towards marketing dollars and ads and things like that.
Right.
And
And so
softwares
that's
and stuff.
always a difference.
That's a big chunk. But then how does that break down into what you charge them for your services?
So I will charge depending upon the client. So some clients, if it's a personal referral from a friend, I will probably bend over a little bit harder backward to help work with the small person's budget.
Sure.
I prefer larger companies, but I have a couple startups that I've helped in the last few years just because, or actually this year, just because they were referred to me by someone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm really busy. If you can work with my schedule, then we'll do that.
Yeah.
I used to drop my rates. Now I don't.
Yeah.
Because then I found the people that I dropped my rates with, we would end up with hours meetings, not an hour meeting, hours.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's not really a good use of our
How
time.
that always works out. Yeah.
So when somebody says I'm paying $100, $150 for Sher's advice, they're really pretty good about being succinct, and this is where we're going and this is what we're doing. And that's a really good way of gauging it. And that's still really under market, but I try to keep it affordable for people just because I don't want to take advantage.
Okay.
Because so many people, I think, do that. Oh, you don't know anything. Oh,
Yeah.
great. Well, then we're going to spend all this money. And I don't want to do that. My goal is that once we start working together, we become friends. This is a great working relationship, and we look forward to our meetings and the results. And I'm not going to blindside you with, here's $30,000 worth of a bill, and oh yeah, you didn't really, the numbers are terrible. Well, that was my fault because I wasn't targeting correctly. I wasn't getting in and looking. And you can tell it takes a little bit of time for something to happen, but you can watch.
Yeah.
After about a week and everything, especially if you're doing advertising, as it starts really getting into the algorithms of the platforms and Google and wherever, you will see results. Now, whether they're good or bad, that just depends on what you're doing. And that goes back into targeting. Are you spending enough money? Is it better to go to a different platform, spend more and be a big fish in a small pond versus a tiny fish in a big Google pond? So,
and how often do you recommend people evaluate that? Are they looking every day, every week, every month? I mean,
that's probably more of a monthly, but when you look at a campaign, like for me, if I'm doing this for you, I'm going to look at it weekly. I'm going to go in, and if I see it's struggling, then it's going to become daily.
Gotcha.
So looking to see, when is it time to pivot, or do we need to, or hey, this is working. This is really working. I love those. This is really working. Let's throw some more money towards that.
Double down.
Exactly. So, I mean, and a perfect example might be, okay, you're doing Google advertising. So you're doing your search engine marketing or pay-per-click. So, which means that somebody's looking at it, it's presented to them, they click on it, and then that's when you know you've done well. Okay. So it's impressions versus clicks. Whereas, so say you do that on Google, but then you're using LinkedIn and you're just kind of going at it. Well, if you've got a customer base, you can upload your customer base and they can look and target people like your customers based upon that. Doing that and retargeting is one of my favorite methodologies, because then you've got people that are at least more inclined to be interested in your product.
Right. Yeah. They've already shown interest.
Than where you've been. Just kind of blindsiding and saying, okay, let's hit Austin. Mm-hmm. That's like hitting Denver. It's just huge. It's a lot of people, whatever you're doing. So
99% of them are probably not going to be interested in what you're offering.
Exactly. When I was working with Air Methods, we did something called geofencing. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we did was geofence an entire hospital where they had decided during COVID they had to have mandatory COVID shots. Well, at that time, Air Methods did not, as of yet. Okay. So they could still, so we literally geofenced. So when people went to work, that they would literally see ads, come work for us. Yeah. And then I created the campaign. We hire the best, and then we make them better.
Okay, cool.
And so we did that with pilots, clinicians, and aircraft mechanic.
Oh, cool.
Because we were fighting against the airlines.
Okay. And they didn't need to have the COVID shot? Is that
at the time? Then eventually everybody had to, but it was a way to get around it. And then the people had a second chance to go, either I'm going to do it or no, I'm just not. Yeah. But it was one of those things that, it was such a strange time for all of us.
Sure.
It was so unprecedented. The fact that you could actually see, China, all the things that the pollution, it's like the world decided, I need a break.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And it did. It got a break.
It did. And
we didn't catch a break, but the world did.
Yeah. But during that time, that's when I decided that's time to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Well, and being in the digital space allows you to do that when everything else shuts down and people can't go anywhere. Well, now they need to double down on, they can't network. They can't, be in
Exactly.
person. They can't go to conferences. It's like, well, now you need to really hone in and get your digital marketing in line, like get it dialed in really tight.
Yeah.
Because that could be the difference between your business making it through, the pandemic or not. So.
Very much so. And even since then, so digital, now everybody's gotten so good at I do. You have my card, you have my QR code, you click it, it goes in your phone. All you can do is save me. I mean, there's technology that's so amazing. But then you still now, I think it's almost the opposite. So if you get an actual card, it's remarkable. And so one of my clients is called Awesome 3D Cards. And what they do is these awesome 3D cards.
Like business cards.
Business cards, regular cards, Christmas cards,
so
ways to make yourself, you open it up, it pops up, and people keep it on their desks forever.
That's cool.
And I use it for my thank yous. I send it for birthdays. I love that because nobody sends a real card anymore.
It's true.
I mean, even if you put, best wishes, share.
Yeah.
It's like, here's this cute little card. I'm going to keep it out and I'm going to remember me.
Yeah.
Versus all the other cards that show up or e-card. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. And I'm now off. I forgot.
Sure.
This right here I'm going to look at and you see it.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's like, oh, thank you so much for remembering my day. And then you move on.
It's true. Guilty. I used to write thank you notes. I used to do that a lot. And I should get back to it.
Tell you, if it's, especially family members.
Sure. Yeah.
My kids will never write a thank
or
you
when
note.
Grandparents and,
exactly.
Gifts for the kids and stuff like that. Like, yeah. And even to clients. I mean, a handwritten thank you note to a client.
Oh, I do that.
Goes a long way.
I will, after I start working with a client, you always get a handwritten thank you note.
It's funny that the digital marketing person relies on physical things still, to set themselves apart.
But see, that's why full service. It's not just that.
Okay.
I mean, all those years when print was so paramount, and that's all.
Are you doing much print for your? You're not doing any print for your.
I don't really recommend it unless somebody's doing something very, very, very local.
It depends, yeah.
I mean,
real estate agents. I get a million real estate agent flyers.
But see, do you do anything? No. You're not going to see that's not going to work. If you're a coffee shop, my thought is, get door hangers, put a magnet on it that has a little coffee cup that will hold up kids' art. Sure. Make sure it's tall enough. It's going to be on the fridge and they're going to remember you. Little things, think about your audience and where you're going to do it. If it comes in the mail, I can guarantee this is how I walk in my house. I have 2 recycle bins and 1 regular, and I put it on the regular, open up the recycle bin, tear up, oh, then needs to shred. And that's what I go through. So if it's on my door, I'll actually look at it.
Yeah, that's a big investment though for people,
Well, it is, but if you're local,
investment.
You can do it in your area.
That's true.
And you could
target a small area.
Yeah. I mean, you could literally just order them and drop them off as you go to work every day.
It's good. Ride your bike, toss them out like newspapers.
It's going to get on the door that way, but
you got to be a pretty good aim.
You'd be like paper airplanes, little origami going. Shoo.
There you go. You could do it. Let me ask you a question, and maybe you could speak to my business just as an example.
Okay.
Well, yeah, maybe we can talk about my business if you want, because I don't do much marketing. In fact, I was talking to my my accountant, and basically he was like, "Is that what you really spend on marketing?" I was like, "Well, yes," and it was like $200 over the quarter or something like that. And he was like, I was like, "But we create a lot of our own content, and so we're spending a lot of sweat equity and a lot of time, and we're paying ourselves basically to create content for ourselves, and that's our marketing." But for a normal business, what do you like? Is there a percentage of revenue that you recommend they spend on marketing?
5 to 10%.
Okay, that's a big range. And how do you know?
It just really depends on, because don't forget, they've got all the overhead that I don't think about, like brick and mortar stores.
Sure, yeah.
Oh my God. What those poor, that is so expensive for somebody.
Yeah.
It's difficult. Whereas, so they would need more because they need to drive the business to them.
Yeah.
So I would say they probably would want to think about 10%. Okay. Whereas, like if somebody's a digital company and they're online and they already have something similar, then it's really about making sure, I would say more, almost like, again, retargeting, like we talked about. If you're established, you've got a whole lot more going on and a lot more resources than you realize. You've got a customer base, whether you market to them or not. you can market to them. You can retarget people, and you can lead people there, even through organic.
Yeah.
But again, it's consistency, scheduling, and relevance. So with your marketing and what you're doing and putting, like, hey, we're featuring business people. So LinkedIn should be like one of your playgrounds. Facebook is great because what you're doing is very cool. And I'm sure with what you're doing with the video side of things with your business, I mean, when you're doing cool clients and things, there's a lot that can be utilized and put out. Like you said, you've got the content. Now it's just getting that good content out.
Yeah.
So it's about really figuring out what your goals are. Is it revenue? Is it viewers? Does viewers bring you revenue? Because then once you grow, then you can, start.
It's a good question. I don't even know how to answer that question.
Yeah, but that is. So like if you're going into the YouTube side of things, the people, or what they call the influencers now, used to just be you were, successessful.
Yeah.
So your but if your blog becomes good, like if you became Smartless, you would be like you would get picked up and put someplace else. So as you get your clients and as you grow, then, so is your following, and then suddenly your ticket price, it does.
What's your take on, we're talking about content. What's your take on people using professional content versus like user-generated content? Do you have a recommendation to people that you make, or is it just dependent on their situation?
It's going to be industry-wide.
Yeah.
Because if you show me something high-tech and it's low-tech when I see it, you're just going to dismiss it.
Sure.
You're just going to go, that's so cute.
Yeah.
Whose daughter or son's doing that? But then when you look at something that, if you're doing for our methods, we use production companies to make our videos and things. We didn't even try to pretend that we had that expertise, because bringing in somebody, you work and you create the storyboard and how you do it for the video and bring it all forward. Then when you get into the editing, it makes it so much easier because you plotted and planned, and this is ideally what you're doing.
Yeah.
Gotta love your B-roll because you can use it for all kinds of things afterwards.
It's funny that you know that, because like we do a lot of direct to client stuff, and sometimes they have a marketing person, but a lot of times they don't. And it's always like educating them of like, no, we're going to spend a lot of time in pre-production, because the more time we spend in pre-production, every hour we spend in pre-production is saving us 2 hours in post-production.
If not more.
Yeah, if not more. I mean, it's a simple equation, but it probably could be more. But yeah, I mean, it's like if you plan out every shot, you plan where you're going to shoot and how you're going to shoot it, and
timing
the angle
of day
and
because
the
of
music.
what you're looking at.
Yeah, exactly. The more you plan, the faster the production is going to go, the smoother the production is going to go. And then post-production, we can get that thing edited so fast and get it back to you, But people don't. They don't want to. They're like, we'll figure it out in post. Like, yeah, we have an idea. Let's just show up. We'll shoot it and figure it out in post production. You're like, it's not going to work. You're going to get frustrated. It's not. You're not going to reach your goal, because it's all the money is made in pre-production for sure. But people
absolutely.
don't know that. People don't realize that.
And honestly, it takes the frustration out, because when you know what's going on, I mean, your timing may obviously move around, but when you're saying, okay, this is what we're doing as you go through, then you're like, oh yeah, I want to make sure we get this room or that room or these people, or let's, orchestrate something. Trying to get a group photo and you're telling people the day of isn't going to make you very popular.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be the day I woke up late.
I feel like if we have like a goal and we have like framework and timeline on the production day, it really helps us actually be flexible on the production day. You're like, okay, well, look at the timeline. We're way ahead of schedule. We got all these shots already. So yeah, now we have time to get creative and do some things that
the extra things.
All the extra things that we didn't do, or some behind the scenes content, or let's go ahead and shoot that other thing that we thought maybe we could do, but just missed it because we didn't think we'd have time. But we were so efficient in pre-production that we're now efficient on the production days. And we have this extra, flex time that we can play with and do something fun with.
And what's really fun about that is when you have that extra time like that, it also gives you, and like for me as a marketer, gives me the opportunity to say, you know what, wait, we could do this for social. So while you're doing that, let's, so we're going to have, and so I'm already taking notes.
But that's all done in pre-production.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes on the spot, I'm a good finding something that I didn't know was there and coming back and going, oh, wait, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
And I'd say 9 times out of 10, I'm pretty good. So it's really fun. The video side of things is very stressful. but it's so cool.
Not for me.
But that's because that's what you do.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
for me, I'm depending on someone
Sure, yeah,
to make sure
yeah.
that I'm giving them the right advice, and we're spending $10,000.
Yeah,
or
it's a big
whatever.
investment.
Yeah.
I get that. And I find it's hard, a lot of the businesses we work with, and maybe you could speak to this, they want to know what the ROI is going to be. And it's just really hard to quantify that. You know what I
Yeah, it
mean?
really
It's
is.
very hard. I can't.
That's why
it's-
the data and pivoting is so important.
Yeah, and you need to I can give you two different versions and you can A/B test it, but that's not on us. And I feel like that's one of the things that I'm kind of trying to figure out in my businesses. Like a lot of times they come to us with a problem and we go, okay, we have solutions, video and photo content we can create to help you with your solutions. And we do that and then we hand it back to them. And then from there, they don't really know how to distribute it.
Right.
They need a marketing person and they need someone to help them sort of walk through that. And so we can point them to people, who can help them with that. But oftentimes they try to do it themselves, save money and do it on a budget. And it's just like, man, and then it can kind of be a frustrating cycle of like, well, they didn't see the return on the value, so they don't want to hire us again. You know what I mean? So
And that's not fair to you because it's not you've delivered.
Well, it's just a problem I'm trying to solve for them. I'm like, okay, well, how do we make sure that you guys are distributing this properly, putting the right ad dollars, putting it on the right places, you know what I mean? Putting it on the right platforms and then measuring your success.
So maybe one of the things to advise them to do is go look at your competitors. What are they doing? Who's your most three successful? What are they doing? And then go out and really look. Are they, maybe it says, or you read an article, are they? Or is it just they paid for that advertorial? So getting in and understanding what your competitors are doing and looking at that and being in that space, especially if you're competitive. For the card company I referred to with Awesome 3D, I'm like, what are Love Pops doing? What are these doing? So he wasn't doing B2C, and I had mentioned it. Now he's been in a group, and now he's like, we're doing B2C, so we're now on Amazon, we're now on Etsy, and then we looked, and he was like, we're going to do Facebook marketing, and I looked at it, and marketplace is not really where you want to do it. That's where you sell your grandma's exercise bicycle.
Yeah.
It's not where you go to find a really cool something that could make a difference for your business or delight people.
Yeah. Or if you're selling low ticket items, it's not. It's just not worth your time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just understanding the right platforms. And then creating the right strategy and then implementing. Yeah. And that's where, coming up with a strategy and overseeing it's one thing. It's another thing to be in there mired going, where are we at and what's happening? Mm-hmm. Well, what's nice is like with the gentlemen that are in the Philippines, when they don't have something and I'm like, we need to look at this or we need to look at this. And that's just experience. That's where experience comes in. That's just different than, a lot of
30 years of experience.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It pays.
Yeah, it does.
Tell me, are there any big trends that you seeing like coming up? I know like AI is the hot topic. We kind of touched on it earlier. Yeah, is there anything that like excites you though in the marketing space as far as technology?
Yeah. Well, AI does excite me. So that's the one thing that is, don't misunderstand, because AI is incredible. Yeah. The way it is changing so many things, it's going to be probably one of the biggest disruptors, kind of like cell phones.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it already is in a lot of ways.
Right? But it's not going to replace people. It will make our lives easier.
Yeah. It'll make us more productive.
It's kind of like when you're cooking, you get all these new things like an air fryer. We've all had ovens all of our lives, right? Yeah. But an air fryer, wow, this thing works so much better.
Tiny stove that sits on your counter now.
And yet it works and reheats awesome and makes some things just better. So, I mean, that's just with marketing and techniques and what you're doing. What is it you're doing? Mm-hmm. And always looking, always seeking. I take a lot of calls and I hang up and I'm like, nah. And I've taken a lot and I'm like, all right, you've got something different. Okay. And it's affordable and it works. Oh my God.
You say a lot of sales calls, people calling, selling you and pitching you on their service.
You can call me all you want. I'm not answering. I will tell you that if you're a client or somebody I've met, you're already on my phone.
Yeah.
If you're somebody else, I will probably, if I'm busy, if I'm in the middle of strategy, I'm not answering my phone.
Yeah,
I know that's terrible to admit, but I will get back to you.
Yeah,
I will call you,
I use
text you back.
like a calendar scheduling thing. So if you need a call, I'll send you a link and you pick a time that is I'm available. That's like the greatest technology in the world to me.
Yeah,
like Calendly. Yeah, and I can send it out and it syncs up with all of my calendars and blocks off my times automatically.
Yeah,
and then it gives them the power to pick whatever time you want that works for you. the only options you're going to see are times that work for me.
Well,
you know?
exactly. And when
it's
you're
great.
busy or you need to block off time, you do. And that's, I do the same.
And I try to be respectful, not like, and I always say like, if none of these times work, let me know. We'll figure something out,
Exactly.
But
I mean,
yeah, it's not that time sensitive. If it's that time sensitive, it's that big of a deal. I'll call you right now, but.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, let's talk for a lot. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners watch this, especially locally. Let's maybe speak to local business owners. What are like 3 tips like that they could do and start implementing right away to start seeing a little bit of results? What would you recommend? Putting you on the spot, sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. Okay, so say you're a small business. The first thing you want to do is sit down.
Let's say you're a local video production business. No,
so I would say, call me. No, so what would really make sense is looking at what your goals are, and really do an analysis of where you are now, and then do a kind of a SWOT. So you're looking at all of it. Take a serious look at, and take the blinders off. Oh, I do this, I do that. I just hired an accountant, and trust me, I was like, I can't write that off. Understanding where you're at. Then with the resources that you have, that you can afford, what can you do?
Yeah.
And then from there, we're going to create the strategy based upon your industry. So if you're posting once a week, keep posting once a week. Okay. If you stop posting and then you post sporadically, people can't count on you. Mm-hmm. So it means if you can't schedule your stuff, like I do client stuff, I don't do a lot of I've been toying with doing a lot of industry things. Mm-hmm. But then when you do that, there's somebody who's going to know more, or somebody's going to have this. And I just don't know that I'm ready to spend all day on LinkedIn defending my position on something, but I can certainly promote people very well. And then if you're going to do paid advertising, if it's local, don't do a mailer. I mean, you've got to do something different.
We just talked about that.
You just can't. It's just, you're not going to get people. And if you're doing, promotion, make sure you put your address, put your phone number. It's so easy to think and look at what you're doing and not realize that you've left and what's your call to action.
Yeah.
So if I've got a piece of paper and it's got your information,
you can really miss the opportunities.
What am I supposed to do? Did you tell me to call? Oh, okay. Do I do a QR call? Fine. QR codes are great. It'll take you to your website. It'll take you wherever you want. And you can, a lot of them, if they're dynamic, you can change them. So you can even have the same flyer. The ad just changes where it goes. So you can do various different things that people don't even realize are available.
Yeah.
You can track your QR codes down to the hour and location.
That's cool.
I mean, there's just so
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually kind of creepy.
But that's because you scanned it, and it's all part of the code with your IP.
Yeah, with your IP address. Okay.
But the technology came out of Germany. Bitly has it. I think they call it Bitly Europe.
Okay.
And so the first time I bought it, literally translated my American dollars into euros.
Oh, wow. You were early adopter.
Yeah,
here in America.
But I love this company because you can put in the cutest you can put your logo in the middle.
What kind of businesses are using QR codes that much?
Honestly, a lot. Like the dental practice, for you to go to their website, make an appointment. If you're there for a whitening special, oh, well, here you go. I mean, there's all these different things that you can do that people don't even think about. So
I guess we don't use QR codes a lot because we're in the digital space.
Right. So if they're watching on the phone, what good is that?
How do I do that?
But see, if that 73 was a QR code and you wanted me to go to your website or see a promotion, I would just do that. And now the phones, at least on iPhones, if you take a picture, it just automatically goes.
I do have a QR code, a back-end website, web page on my website that is just my QR code. It's a Flowtech. I think it's Flowtech, is that what it's called? Flow code.
Okay.
And you scan it, and it pulls up an iMessage, and it just says, "Hey, Matthew, send me more information about Future Fox." And it's a text message. Yeah. So then they send it to me, and then I'm standing there talking to them, and I just go, "Hey, okay, cool." I'm just like,
and now you're there on your phone.
And I'm like, "Hey, send me your name too." Now, yeah, exactly. And I like that better than just giving them my digital business card, because if they just have my information, that's not guaranteed that they're gonna reach out to me.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
Now it's just sitting in their phone, my contact information.
That's
I don't have their contact
but I still do the traditional, here's your card. And
you can do both for
and
sure.
My card
I have business
it's
cards
very
too.
hard. It's very thick.
Sure.
It's hand painted on the outside. And it was funny, somebody goes, but if you're doing digital, I said, but now you're going to remember me.
You have both.
Because then if you scan the code, I'm in your phone. But you know what? How many people are in your phone that you look at and you go, who is that?
Sure. With business cards, I always just take a picture and then throw them away. Sorry if you've given me a business card, but I have a picture and it's saved in a folder on my phone. So
I'm not offended.
okay.
Hey,
Well,
it obviously got me here, so it did
hey,
something right.
it worked. Yeah, for sure. Whatever you're doing, it's working. So if you wanted to donate an hour of your time to me for the podcast, it worked perfectly. Cool. Tell me about what's on the horizon for you. What are you excited about? You got a goal for next year?
Yeah. So this next year, I'm hoping to get some more bigger businesses and then expand with the freelancing. Yeah. So the reason I like freelancers is it allows me to find people who are really good at that.
What do you mean expand with the freelancers?
So expanding with freelancers. So most of the people that I bring in are going to be 1099.
Oh, okay. That work.
So they're going to be working with me, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So most of the people. So that way, one, it helps me because I'm not paying all the taxes and and things. But also, I'm going to get, if you're somebody who does oil and gas, and I got an oil and gas company that I need to talk to, I've got now somebody who's got industry experience.
Yeah. Yeah, you're bringing on specialists.
I'm bringing on specialists who are going to stop the 3-month learning up ramp for me. They're going to come in and go, this is what we're doing. And I'm going to ask them the right questions. And then we're going to determine the right situation to put in front of the client. So here's the scenario one, here's another one, here's another one. Here's the things that we look at, and based upon past experience or with what we're doing, we feel this is the most solid plan for you. And then sometimes you get pushed back that they want to go more this direction or that. And then it's like, okay, well, let's look at the numbers. Give me access. Let's go in. I always sign NDAs with anybody who's a client. That way, anybody I work with has already signed NDAs with me, with a dental practice, HIPAA, things like that. I've got a couple of those. So when you're doing something like that, when I'm looking at their data, they're not worried. Well, they trust me.
Yeah.
But secondly, they're not
Hopefully
worried
they trust
because I don't think they'd give me access to everything. But then I'm able to look at it and look at it through your eyes and understand, okay, this is what you're doing. And then I, occasionally had somebody going, this strategy, somebody was doing connected TV and they were spending $30,000 a month and they had all these views. And I'm like, well, what does that translated into your deliverable? And he said, nothing.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh.
I can't imagine having $30,000 to just, blow on TV ads, but that's crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
Everybody has different things. So when you do that,
some people have too much money. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, let's look at what you're doing, and that's great. Now, what can we do with those followers now? Because you're not doing anything and they're not converting. So then let's look at that. How can we change that into something? And so part of what I want to do is one of the dental practices that I just co-branded for her. And it's a small boutique, but they have technology that big companies don't even have.
Oh, cool.
They are just amazing. Progressive Dental Health is now merged with Healthy Smile Shine. And in doing that, I'm going to put together a white paper. And I'm going to get more into those types of things, just showing the uniqueness. But what I love about them and why I thought they would be great clients is because of their technology.
Yeah.
They can do a crown in a day.
Oh, cool.
I mean, and I never thought about it, but if that thing falls out, you're miserable.
Yeah.
Because that's why you were covering that problem. So to be able to get a crown going in the morning and get it put in the afternoon is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. They do aligner therapy. They even do like Botox. And I was like, why would you do that? Who better than a dentist who understands your face and all the muscles? And I'm like, now that is an absolute good point. So guess who does my Botox?
Perfect.
But, so just, really getting to know my clients, getting a rapport. And it's when people feel comfortable with you, you get so much more. One, it's enjoyable. But two, they'll tell you things that they don't realize they're telling you, which help them.
Yeah.
And it makes a big difference.
Cool. That's great. Yeah. No, we have, I'm in the same boat, just like hiring specialists underneath us and bringing on, depending on the project, hey, we need an audio specialist for this. This is a very complicated project on the audio side. We'll bring someone in. Or I have an animator that, hey, this video needs animation. I don't do animations very well. So I'm going to outsource that and bring them in and let them shine,
Exactly.
And that's going to be a great experience for everybody. The client's going to be way happier than me trying to do their animations.
Exactly. There are things that I can do if it's forgotten or whatever.
But that's the value that I bring is knowing all the right people and making sure that, hey, I'm getting everyone on the bus for this project that needs to be on the bus, and we're going to get where we need to go, Yeah,
you build the team and then you put it together, you manage it.
Not everybody has to be a W-2 employee. So.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot of people don't want it.
Sure.
Especially in today's world. I mean, trying to get people to, I have friends that literally it's like, okay, third reschedule. I think I'm giving up on you. I mean, it's
Mm,
just what people do now. You
yeah.
don't think twice about counseling, whereas you used to feel bad.
Yeah.
And people just like, no, I'm good.
Well, awesome. Well, why don't you tell people where they can find you? And
Easy enough.
how should they reach out?
The best way to reach out is probably either email me, share at Island Pond, and shares with an S, S-A-G-R,
That's right.
at islandpondmarketing.com. Or in all my information contacts there, you can even book a consultation for free. And I'd like to, really help people when they need help. Like when you have, clients who they have a video but don't know what to do with it. Well, I'm a girl to call.
Cool.
Not Ghostbusters, call Cher.
Who you gonna call? Cher. All right.
Exactly.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you. I
Appreciate
really
it.
appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to hear.
Thank you so much.